Welcome into the PHNX Coyotes postgame show brought to you by the one and only DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. I'm Leah Merrill here with Steve Peters for the second Sunday in a row that a Coyotes game has gone to overtime. This time they get it done with 15 seconds to go, and Shayne Gostisbehere wins it for the Coyotes.
Unbelievable game. And there's so many things from this one to unpack, and not only from this game, but from the hockey world over the last 48 hours here with this team. So we got a lot to go over today. So hope everybody packed a lunch because we're going to be here for a while.
Exactly.
It's good for the Coyotes that we got. That's 2 wins in 3 games now. I know the stinker against Anaheim and all the extracurricular activities that went on in that game and the sour taste from that game. And then the game before, you've got the Keller injuries. He left sad from the arena on that game. So it's nice.
There hasn't really been like a normal game where we could just leave it feeling like everyone got out unscathed.
And I was worried about Ghost there for a minute, and Gostisbehere took a puck in the face, and you go, oh,
and
geez,
so did Fashing.
Yeah. Like, I tell you what, you just were waiting for what happens next to this team. A lot of good things happened today. A lot of good things. And I tell you what, I'm sitting there watching it, first period, first shot for Chicago. You go, oh, shit.
And then when Dylan Strome scores like a minute 15 in, and, you know, we've talked about Vejmelka. This was his 8th start in a row. A lot, you know, there's been a lot on him. He hasn't been really consistent. And when that first goal went in, I thought, could he get pulled again? But he really found his game as the game went on. As did the Coyotes. The Coyotes was more of a up, down, I think. But Veggie made some really good saves in this game.
Yeah, even with Veggie, though, even after that first save, there were a couple flurries by the Blackhawks after that you go, ooh. Like he just didn't get sharp until it took him a while. It took him a while to get into it. And once he got into it, he made some fantastic saves all the way up, including overtime. You know, when the puck's going back and forth and trading chances. And overtime, I thought he was sharp, but it did take him a while to get into that. So, yeah, he was a big part of what happened today. And you were worried after the first shot that, oh no, here we go again. Yep. The other big key for me, and the big is they found some offense. And they really struggled in the last game against Anaheim. Not only did they not score, they just never felt like they were going to score.
Yeah.
And in this game, they were not only they put points on the board, which is great. There were so many opportunities in this game where you go, oh my God, how did they miss? Like, even like Phil Kessel in overtime slides it through an open crease.
There were so many. He had so many chances in overtime, but there were so many chances in this game. Ladd had chances. Like it was just Capobianco missed a wide open net. There was just chance after chance after chance where
Fashing hit a post in the first.
Yeah, it was unbelievable, which is great. It's great to see and a great bounce back from being shut out 5-0.
Yeah, I want to see when they do the scoring chances after this game. I'd love to see what Kessel ends up with, because he had one in the first, a couple in the second, and clearly some in overtime.
His actual scoring chances were?
Yeah, I mean, it depends how they grade them. If they miss those missed net ones, they probably don't.
Yeah, but he was hungry for one. It's a bummer that he couldn't. It's a bummer that he couldn't get the overtime winner, because that would have been great.
He just can't get it. And I thought, you know what? I thought Taves was going to get the overtime winner. Like, that's the story. And he, you know, for those that missed the game on TV, they presented Taves with the 1,000-game stick, and he celebrated. He played it in the other night, but he celebrated it tonight. And so the fanfare and everybody came out in the 19 jersey for warmups. And you go, oh no, he's going to have a big night. And I tell you what, he had it. He had the game on his stick. In overtime, he skates behind the Coyote goal. Vejmelka bit on the play, and it slid out of the net. Empty net on the wraparound. He just, I don't think he knew Vejmelka slid out that far. So he was trying to make a pass instead of trying to wrap it. So luckily for the Coyotes, that was not the fairy tale storybook.
And ironically, I think that Gostisbehere's shot in overtime went off of Taves' skate. So you could argue that he did have the game-winning goal, just not for his team. Oh, see? Just what someone said in the comments right now.
What did they just say?
He technically did have the winner, just not for the right team.
And then so he goes from the guy, literally the play before could have been the hero. The United Center would have erupted and fantastic. And then he tries to make a skate save a la 80s goaltending, and off his foot and in on the power play. Poor guy.
Truly a bummer.
But you know what? The Coyotes needed this. They needed to win.
They did.
They needed to feel good about things. It's been a little cloud hanging over this team since Keller went down at the end of the San Jose game, and it's just felt that way for the last 48 hours around this team, and they needed this. And I tell you what, doesn't get any easier because they're probably sitting on a plane or getting to it right now while we're doing this, and they have to go to St. Louis tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's the thing, win, maybe not for the tank, but for morale and for the fact that, like you said, St. Louis, Vancouver, Vegas, that's the week ahead for the Coyotes. So it's not going to be an easy week. This game against Chicago was the one that we all said before this, that this was a winnable game. So, they might not win again this week, and at least they have this one under their belt, especially as we said it, with just all the noise and everything that's been going on the last week. So let's look at tonight by the numbers, which some interesting things here, because first of all, the Coyotes outshot the Blackhawks and won the game. Rare. A rare
Second
occurrence
time?
this season.
Second
I
time?
think it's
We
only
should've
the
known
second
that.
time. I think it's only the second time. Both teams scored on the power play. Coyotes 1 for 2, Blackhawks 1 for 3. But what was crazy about this game, the Coyotes were outshot 11-6 in the first. Then they came back and outshot Chicago 15-5 in the second. Then it was 13-8 in the third. But going into overtime, the score was 2-2 and the shots were 29-29. And I just can't recall a time this season that the shots were even and the score was even for this Coyotes team. Can you?
Yeah, they're usually just getting, and honestly, they're better off when they get pummeled in shots, and it seems to be when they have their most success, clearly. So to see them on the upper side of the shots on goal column is extremely rare, and I think it is probably the second time this season where they've won a game where they've actually outshot their opponent. And again, of course, my crack staff of stat team, which would be me. I didn't think of that one today, so I'm a little tardy on that. I'll have it for tomorrow night's tilt because we could do it again tomorrow. And you know what? We look at the lineup for tonight too, and we know about all the big injuries in Keller and Krause and Fisher still out and on. But Nick Ritchie, who's just started to come on strong with this team since he was acquired at the trade deadline from Toronto. He's putting up points, putting up goals. He's been a physical presence. He gets suspended from the game against Anaheim for a slashing infraction. So
when that happened, I was like, where's the offense going to come from? Because he's been the kind of now with Keller out, and Schmaltz has been quieted down since that crazy month of March. And Ritchie's been the one scoring.
That no one's been able to pick up the scoring. And with Keller, where's it going to come from? And they jumbled the lines up, and you got, Michelli, who's been down with the kid line with Hayton and Carcone. He moved up with Boyd and Schmaltz, and you go, oh shit, how's that going to work? Well, worked really well. They look really good together. Yeah. And Fashing fit in with Eriksson and Beagle. They got their chance. And Kessel, Hayton, and Carcone, I don't know how many chances that line had. Like they look really good together. So I was worried. And offensively, this was a good game for this team. Not just in amount of shots, but goals and the outcome. And just you felt like they had the ability to score because that has been missing. Even on games where they've been able to score, they don't feel like they're really controlling the play. And I thought today there were moments where they hemmed Chicago into their zone,
especially in the second
period of times.
Especially in the second period.
Yeah. So there's some really good moments here, and there's some really good takeaways for some individuals. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. And we mentioned Carcone. He actually had a goal tonight. It was his second career goal from Strawman. And then Boyd, he scored his first goal since March 10th, which was great to see. It was his 13th of the season. He'd been really hot and then had quieted down for a little bit. But good to see him back on the board.
And that was a goal, the Boyd goal too. I mean, when you isolate his play, it's a 1-on-4. Like he's surrounded by Blackhawks, and you're like, oh no, there's gonna be a turnover in front of the net. And I tell you what, he fakes the pass, and everybody bites on the pass, and he's standing alone in front of the goal. You go, how did that happen? Like, where did everybody go? Unbelievable move by Boyd, who's shown that his career numbers this year offensively. And they're well-deserved. And he's getting an opportunity to play with good players all season long. And he's got some skill around the net. So that was a great goal. And then you talk about Carcone's goal. Chicago wins the faceoff. Should have had a breakout. Strawman holds tight on the blue line, keeps the puck alive. Quick shot to the net, and Carcone tipping in. I thought there were so many good things for this team tonight to feel good and positive about. And I told you, Leah, the last studio game we did a couple nights ago, I was a little grumpy. It was
what?
The Anaheim game. I know, a little grumpy.
After a 5-0 shutout, you were grumpy on a Friday night at 10:30 p.m.?
And I said tonight it was going to be more positive, and here I am.
Look at you.
Fulfilling my promise.
I'm so proud. Well, on that note, let's look at Petey's keys to the game because I think the Coyotes delivered on a lot of this.
Yeah, my biggest fear was that they weren't going to be able to score without Keller, because they didn't score the last game without Keller. And I go, oh, where's the offense going to come from? Are they going to pouch? Are they going to feel bad that they don't have their offense and they're just going to give up because they don't have Clayton Keller? No, they didn't. They were great. Stop Kane. I mean, he gets the power play goal. And so he gets on the score sheet, and usually when that team gets Patrick Kane on the score sheet, it's going to be a tough night. I will say this: when Kane and DeBrincat are on the ice together, and now with the addition of Strome, man, do those three pass the puck well. They find each other through seams, over sticks. They make board-to-board passes throughout the game. They look really, really good together. That's a great hockey line right now for that team. And Veggie, we say it every night. I mean, we might as well just fill in key three every night. It's got to be
right.
Started off, I was very concerned. But I tell you what, by the end of the night, I still think after tonight, they only gave up 31. They averaged 35.2 shots per game. I'm still expecting them to lead the league in shots.
It's funny because stop Kane, they literally did when he took a penalty that led to the overtime goal, and he was in the box for it. So I guess you, just like Taves technically had the game-winning goal, you can technically argue that they stopped Kane to win the game.
And he wanted the penalty shot on his when he got the penalty that actually, sent us to the box again. Us, the Coyotes, not us.
Yes. Joel asked, is Kachinas starting the next game? Listen.
You know what the answer to that is?
No.
Because he's not there.
The Coyotes recalled Ivan Prosvetov from Tucson, and you'd have to imagine he'll get the start, but then again, this is not the expertise of this particular show.
We're not good at this. We're not good at this. Did you hear that on air?
Who just sneezed? I think Petey's wife just sneezed so loud that everyone could heir it, and now he's
that was great. Yeah, well, good Lord.
It's okay. Work from home.
Real life happens. But honestly, you don't know. Like, you'd think it has to be Prosvetov. He played it into overtime tonight, extended time. Hasn't had a break in 8 games. He's got pulled 2 of the last 4 now. Like, I mean, I think that's why they recalled Prosvetov, so that they could give him a game. I really do. I think that they weren't thrilled with what they were seeing out of Kachinas, either in practice or in the games that he did fill in relief, and they wanted Ivan Prosvetov to get the opportunity. So I think that's why he got recalled. I would anticipate he will play tomorrow. When Craig gets to the show, maybe he'll have some information, but good Lord, who knows? Let's not put up my average on that one.
Yeah, no, it's probably extremely low.
Not good.
Very bad. Well, man, I don't even know where to go next, because this game was just, I will say it was entertaining, and it was nice to be entertained watching a Coyotes game as well.
Yeah, and again, I'll say it again. Like, the biggest thing for me was the ability to find offense from other people that haven't been able to provide it. And I don't just mean the goals. I mean the shot attempts, the offensive zone possession of the puck. In the first period, it looked like Coyote hockey to me, turning the pucks over between the blue lines, giving up really quality grade A scoring chances against. And the first goal, honestly, it's a goal that you wish you had back. So you go, oh no, here we go again, Coyote hockey again. They're going to collapse. And you know what? They didn't. They responded. And I think one of the keys to me that we didn't talk about, and one of the players that was added back into the lineup, Keller goes out, Andrew Ladd comes back in.
Yes, I meant to bring up Keller. I meant to bring up how much I noticed him, though. Yes, he's not Keller, but he was noticeable, and he had chances, and he was right there in front of the net on every play. He was missing. I mean, he missed the net, but he was right there.
Yeah, he's a leader. I mean, he is a leader. He's an experienced NHL player that's won Stanley Cups, and he's playing in a building where he won those cups. So I don't know if you saw it after the Taves ceremony, how many players went up to Andrew Ladd. That's how important he is as a figure in that building. He showed up. Like, he made the difference. I wonder if inside the room, that's part of it, that you need some of that leadership and glue and experience to hold this together right now. Because let's be honest, this is a fragile group right now. I mean, they are missing so many key pieces to this team on and off the ice, as far as leadership and who to follow and guys that have been there and those type of things, that I wonder if that was part of the problem you saw in the Anaheim game. And now he was able to calm it all down, bring up a little different voice in the locker room and kind of pulled everybody together. And I think that's another reason why Phil Kessel had a good game today too. So you get that veteran leadership kind of trying to steer this ship into port right now with 14 games to go. You go, good grief. We got a long way to go and short time to get there, as the Bandit said. But so you need these guys to help get them there. Like it's extremely important. And I really think Ladd was one of the big keys to today's game.
Yeah, I agree. And we'll have more on everything that went down on Friday. We have sound bites from Beagle. We have a lot to talk about when Craig gets here, but we're going to save that all for Craig. So hang on tight, because when Craig gets here, we'll talk about a lot of the other major storylines, and we'll get into this more when Craig does get here, but we'll get more into the debate of it. But now that Keith Yandle has ended his Ironman streak, as of tonight, Phil Kessel leads the NHL in active NHL players for longest Ironman streak with 969 games played in a row. So Phil Kessel, who, like we already talked about, had some amazing looks tonight, and he couldn't buy one in overtime, but he really, really wanted one.
Yeah, and it's funny, we're going to spend a lot of time, maybe not today, well, sometime today, talking about Ironman streak, obviously, one of the topics we have when Craig joins us, and how important that is or isn't, or what kind of a record it truly is. But you look at this week with Keith Yandle and Clayton Keller, both two of the top 4 active players are no longer chasing that. Well, Yandle already had it, but you know what I mean? There's no longer those 2 active streaks. They're both out now. So Keller has to start a new one. And Keith Yandle, I hope, gets back in the lineup. Unbelievable teammate, player, friend, all of those things. He's a great person. I hope he gets back in the lineup soon. And I know when Craig joins, what's Craig doing, by the way?
He just said, taking forever. He just texted us.
Well, thanks. Well, then, you know what? Can we go to some of our other stuff then? Can we go
Well, I just want to
sorry.
read this comment from Karen. Craig's sick is right there with Craig on vacation, a million storylines, which is so true. And he tweeted that yesterday, and you won't believe, because yesterday Craig slept in, which I don't think Craig has ever slept in. And in that time, missed so much stuff. So you're right. And for those who don't know, whenever Craig goes on vacation is when huge Coyotes news breaks. So I think that's a good theory, that Craig being sick is on par with Craig being on vacation, because
yeah, it is. It truly is. And when he said he slept in, did I miss anything? Oh, yeah, I kind of did. There's kind of a lot going on around the Coyotes, and unless you turn the internet off. So who knows?
Absolutely.
I just think that this is a stepping stone to get the Coyotes through to the next one. Tomorrow, you know what? They're going to have their hands full. There is no doubt about it. 13 to go now. After tonight, they had 14. Now they got 13 games left. And we've talked about the injuries at length. There are a lot of players they're not getting back.
No.
The chances are a lot of those core players. I mean, Keller clearly is out. Krause is out. And Fisher's really questionable. They might not get another player back. So this is it. And so you've got to find a way to bind together in that room and go, okay, we got to muscle through this. We don't have a miserable 3 weeks here. So let's compete. And they did tonight. And I know the Chicago Blackhawks team isn't a playoff team this year, and they're not in the top of the standings, but I don't care what anybody says. That's still a good hockey team. You look at the roster up and down with Seth Jones and Taves and Kane, DeBrincat and Strome. There's a good hockey team. I think they've just had some bad breaks early in the year. They didn't get the goaltending they wanted along this season after Marc-Andre Fleury is now gone. It's just not where they expected to be. Very disappointing season in Chicago. But it's still a good team, and this is still a good win, and it's still a big win in that building. So let's see. Absolutely. We talk about teams that they do well against. They play well in St. Louis.
Remember during the COVID year where they played them 7 times in a row and like absolutely dominated.
And they won the series.
Yep.
The 7-game series was won by the Yotes.
Who knows?
So never say never. You just don't know, especially with Prosvetov potentially getting the start there. Those are the kind of games where a goalie that doesn't play often and get called up for the American League, maybe he has a big game tomorrow, and they find their way to make that game exciting and close. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. Karen, Ash, are you going to do a partner broadcast with CHGO for the next game? There's stuff in the works, so stay tuned. And Petey, did you see that the CHGO staff was in a suite at this game?
They were at the suite. When's the last time? Did they get us a suite for the... No. No, but it was for the Taves thing, I'm assuming. Is that why they went?
Just a team bonding thing. That's fun. But somebody made a good point a little bit before we went on air. Are the Coyotes winning all their series against all their all-city counterparts, the Avs and the Blackhawks?
And the answer is
yes.
Yes, they are. They're 2-1-1 against Colorado, and now they're 1-1 against Chicago. So they are 3-2-1 against the other all-city cities, CHGO and DNVR. So yay, Coyotes on that one. So they win the all-city playoffs. How about that?
I love that.
Over the Colorado. We can actually brag on it. So I don't know how Colorado did against Chicago. My guess is
I don't know either.
Okay. They probably did okay. Well, we'll have to look that up for the next show, because if they didn't, that could be a humble brag for the entire summer, as maybe the Colorado, the DNVR show is carrying around the cup and having cup parties.
And we're having draft lottery parties to celebrate.
Ping pong balls.
Yeah, which let's check in. Seattle's still up 1-0 on Dallas right now, halfway through the second. We need a big Seattle win today.
Seattle's got to come through here.
Because Montreal did their part by winning last night, but now the Coyotes are moving ahead. So we need Seattle to get a win.
Well, it's going to be tight. It's going to be right down to the wire. And I'd be honest, it really won't matter until the ping pong balls hit the machine, because it's going to, who's ever there, we're going to finish in the bottom three. Coyotes are going to be at the bottom. So it's either second to last, or third to last. They're going to be there. So then it's going to be all up to the hockey gods. And as Coyote history goes, the hockey gods are not always friendly. The Kachina-clad Coyotes.
All up to chance. And you know what else is all up to chance? Betting on sports.
That is amazing. That was so good.
Did you watch the Final Four yesterday for men's?
I did catch some of that.
Petey, I think you were going to win
the Discord.
The Discord pool, which good for you.
I think it's done, even if Kansas does not win.
That was a good comeback.
Why didn't I pick them in the PHNX staff one, though? I don't
know.
U of A. What the hell was I thinking?
I don't know. That was silly. Craig's here, so we'll add him in right in time for this.
You got to finish your ad, though.
I'm going to. Hello, Craig.
Hi, Craig.
Hey,
yes, your laser is back. Well, Craig, before we get into all of our topics, I was just going over the latest promotion at DraftKings, which tomorrow is the men's national championship for basketball. So it's the last day for this offer, which is new customers can bet $5 on any team to win and get $200 in free bets if they do. Existing customers can bet on college hoops with same game parlays. So if you're already on DraftKings, there's so much you can do, not just college basketball, but so many sports as well. So be sure to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PHNX, bet $5 on any college hoops team to win. Tomorrow is your chance with the national title game. So do that, bet on your team to win and get $200 in free bets. If they win, you win with promo code PHNX this week at DraftKings. That's 21 and over, Arizona only. Gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customers only, minimum $5 deposit. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for more details.
As I try to lose this light laser, I have to find out how I got attached to Kansas by PHNX.
What does that mean?
Did you see the thing that the Sweet 16?
Oh yeah, the PHNX pool.
Hey, look at that. No light laser going through my head.
I did not see that, Craig.
So yeah, this Kansas thing. What happened? How did I get Kansas?
I don't know. That's a question for Michaela.
Okay.
Yeah, the PHNX March Madness pool. Every person got assigned a team at random, and Craig, I guess, got Kansas, so that's good. I got U of A, which makes sense, but that didn't go so well for me.
Rock, chalk, Jayhawk. I'm all about Kansas, as you all know. Always been.
Oh, man. What are you doing, Petey?
I'm trying to figure out this graphic thing that you taught me before.
What
in the middle of the show?
What's that? Yeah, in the middle of the show. I'm trying to figure it out. Think I did it?
All right.
Well, because there's an update in things that I'm supposed to be providing for the show.
Okay.
See if I can do it.
Well, while you're trying to figure that out,
I did it.
You did it. I'm very proud. Right, Craig, we have a ton to get to. So
I waited for you.
We waited for you, but I just wanted to give you the opportunity if you have any thoughts on this game quickly before we move on to bigger topics.
Well, it got enjoyable at the end. I mean, that OT was insane. It was frenetic. That's what I love about, 3-on-3 OT is the best. And, when you're still, even though they're obviously a greatly diminished product over what they once were, the Blackhawks have some exciting players who can skate and create offense. We had just a back and forth in OT. It could have been won at several points. And then in the end, it ends up being an attempted pass by Gostisbehere that goes off Tave's skate and into the net. But that's OT for you. It was fun to watch.
Absolutely. All right, Craig. Well, we saved all of the juicy stuff for when you got here. Wow. Which topic would you like to start with?
Well, I mean, I got a chance to catch up with Tyson Nash before tonight's game, so we might as well start there. Wanted to give him a chance to clarify, to elaborate, because when you cut a tiny soundbite from a game, that is by nature taking something out of context because you didn't hear what he was saying the rest of the game. And I think some people were just like, oh, he's against skill. Of course, that's not the case. He was praising Trevor Zegras most of the game, and he praised that actual goal. So that's not the takeaway from what Tyson Nash said. Now, there can be some disagreement on some of the other things, and I think this disagreement just boils down to there's like an old school player mentality about those sorts of events that probably isn't going away. And then there's this sort of, I don't know if it's not all media, but a lot of media and a lot of fans will attack that and say, it's absurd. It's Neanderthalish. And actually you have some fans also that think that the game is getting too soft, and you have to accept that as part of the game. So I'm curious where you guys stand on all this, and then we can dive into the various aspects of this.
Yeah, I just want to contextualize too for those who might not have caught the video of Trevor Zegras after the game on Friday. So Jay Beagle had attempted to go after Zegras, went after Troy Terry. Tyson Nash made a call on the game. The video from the game, the post-game video, blew up, went viral over the weekend. So a lot of stuff went down. In case you missed it, which I don't think anyone did, because that's literally all I saw this weekend, but just wanted to briefly summarize it. But Petey, I'll let you go first.
No, this is hard for me. It's easy, and I've read Twitter, I've seen comments on. There's so many things here. Did I like the comment that was taken that we read? No. I don't think you can have any association with a high-skilled play and a high-skilled goal with the fight itself. And I listened to Beagle's comments. Todd Walsh had him on the Bally's pregame show, and I listened to Beagle's comments. And Beagle, he went at Trevor Zegras in the crease because he was digging for a puck underneath his goaltender in the crease late in a 5-0 game. That's it. That was what was on his mind. That's what started the event. So I think the first thing that needs to be separated is the fight from the goal. Because in my mind, I'm not speaking for anybody else but myself. Separate the two events. And I think that's an important distinction for what Beagle does. And I heard so many comments today about Beagle. Beagle, I'm looking at hockeyfights.com right now. Do you know the last time Beagle fought in the National Hockey League was 2013? He doesn't fight. I saw it was reported he had 5 career fights. I cannot confirm that he had 5 career fights. I saw Steve Downey back in 2008. He doesn't have many. So he's not a guy that's fighting once every other week. He's not a fighter. He's protecting his goalie late in the game. So I wanted to say that. The comments, yeah, let's face it, this is hockey. This isn't chess. It's hockey. There's a lot of emotions. It's a physical game. It's a contact game. And do things build up throughout the course of a game that cause something to happen at the end of the game? And if you think the answer is no, you're wrong, because they do. An action in the first period. Have you ever heard a commentator say, hey, he's going to take that number, or he took a number? Well, we're not chastising those guys if something happens later in the game. I watched a national broadcast, Wilson versus Reeves, and the entire national broadcast followed those two players around the ice. That was what the whole thing was. The pregame, the postgame, the middle of the game was all built on this fight mentality. So if you don't think this exists in hockey, you're just wrong. And I'm sorry, I'm not justifying anything that was said or anything that was done. I'm just saying there is an element to the sport of hockey that if they don't feel as being policed or being taken care of, there is some self-policing in hockey. Always has been. And I think there's less now than ever before, but there still is an element of self-policing. And that's what Beagle was doing in this event with Zegras at the net. I don't know if I explained anything or if I really came out with what Tyson Nash said. I disagree with Tyson in that one sentence. I do. And keep in mind, and there's going to be another cop-out. We sit in front of a microphone doing this show right now. Things come out of our mouth sometimes in a split second. You go, oh, gosh, I don't know if people are going to understand the way I meant that. Like, it happens. And if you don't think it does, again, stand in front of a microphone with a camera on and try doing it for an hour straight and see what happens. Not justifying it, not excusing him again, just saying it does happen. And so the questions that Craig asked were the ones I wanted to know. Was it about was he connecting the goal with the fight? Because that's the way it was portrayed online. And so, Craig, thank you for asking those questions.
Yeah, and I think Tyson still did tie it to that. So it was interesting to hear what Beagle said. It was also interesting to hear the airplane that was just landing in Leah's backyard.
Literally, what the heck?
I don't think, you listen to Jay Beagle, you don't know. Like, those things, like you said, Petey, can build up over time. I guess when you look at what Beagle did, after getting the confrontation initially, I get. We were both goalies, and there's a code in hockey that you protect your goalies. You don't let people mess with your goalie in any way. And I think there is an argument to be made for why was Trevor Zegras poking around in the goalie's groin area with a 5-0 lead and 5 minutes left in the game. That's probably not something you should be doing. But if you're going to do it, there's going to be consequence for it. Okay, the fight happens. We saw all that happened with Troy Terry because he came in to protect his guy. I think there's also an argument to be made that Jay Beagle at some point probably should have let up. Troy Terry was in a vulnerable position. He wasn't fighting back. At some point, hey, you stop pounding on a guy. He's not fighting back. Let it go. So I think that there's a valid argument there as well that you can make. Again, there's a lot of pieces to that. But I think that's one thing that bothered people about what Jay Beagle did in particular. I asked Tyson if he thought he should have stopped, and he said no. But he's coming, from a player standpoint where once you're in a fight, you're in fight or flight mode at that point. You're just swinging away, trying to defend yourself.
And I think that goes back to what I said, Craig, that he's not a fighter. I think part of that is Jay Beagle hasn't fought in a long time. This is, and I'll use a fighter that we've had here in Arizona. I'll use Paul Bissonnette as an example. I even talked to Paul Bissonnette about this. I'd like to, because I'd like to get his thoughts. I don't think a player like Paul Bissonnette, who is in this league to be a fighter, would have taken Troy Terry and fought to the extent that Beagle did, because I think he would have recognized sooner, because he's been in that situation and his mindset is different. He's more clear. Beagle just cross-checked their best player onto the ice. And in his mind now, it's going, now it's my turn. Somebody's coming for me. And that's the way hockey works. So now he's going, someone's coming. I don't think he's taking numbers right away. And okay, this is Troy Terry. Let me look at the stats book. Let's see how many points he's got. And he's going, oh my God, there's a player jumping me because I just cross-checked Trevor Zegras. He recognized it's a good player. He goes, and as they should, he should expect to get jumped. And he did. He doesn't know who that is right away. And it is fight or flight for him. I believe that. Is there a point where he could have held off? Hard to believe, Craig. I've never been in a fight. I know you look at me and you go, God, there's a barroom brawler. Never been in a fight. So I don't know. I can't speak for him. So I don't know what he's going through in his mind. Well, I'm sure first is he's got to defend himself. And so he starts swinging.
We actually do have Beagle's comments here. So let's go ahead and hear what Beagle had to say.
Yeah, no, for me, obviously it's pretty simple. I'm coming back on a back check, and it's a 5-0 game. We're obviously not playing the way we want to play and have kind of been embarrassed. And, a player takes a poke at our goalie in the crease, 5-0. So, I lay a cross-check on him and expect to get a penalty. That's going to happen, but, you obviously can't allow people to take a little poke at your goalie. It doesn't matter, but 5-0, it's, unacceptable. And so that kind of starts everything. And, from there, obviously, a guy comes in and second man in ends up being Terry. At the time, obviously didn't know that was Terry, but he comes in aggressively and grabs a hold of me, and, it's a fight. In my mind right there, he kind of attacks me and goes after me. So it's a fight. And then, after that, it is what it is. So, it's one of those things where I think there's got to be some accountability, and players have to be accountable for what they do out there. I'm accountable for what I do. You poke the goalie when it's 5-0. I don't care who you are. It doesn't matter. You're going to get a jab. You're going to get something. There's going to be something. That's the game. That's the way it's played. And there's kind of an unwritten rule there. And, it's the same thing as coming into a scrum. I mean, there's different ways of coming into a scrum. There's a way to come in, where you don't want to fight and you wait for the linesman to get in there. There's nothing. I watched the replay a bunch of times, obviously, yesterday after it kind of blew up. There's nothing the linesman could have done. He came in really aggressively. He grabbed a hold of me, and I thought it was a fight. I mean, that's just how I read it. It happens fast, right or wrong. It happens. The game's fast. It happens fast, and I stand by what I did. It's there's those rules where if you're coming in, you better be ready to drop the gloves, and if you're not, then come in a little differently.
Yeah, I want to give credit to Todd Walsh on that too for hunting him down and getting that interview in Valley Sports.
Arizona period, and Brett Hansen for giving us permission to use that. Yeah, exactly. I'm glad he brought up the linesman because I wanted to talk about that issue as well. I've heard some people say that the linesman should have done more. They probably could have broken up that fight. You heard Beagle talking about it, but and saying not sure there's more that they could have done. To be blunt, that's a linesman's job. You got to break that up somehow. So I mean, it's hard. It's not easy, right, to step into that situation. And maybe he was doing his best and just couldn't get it done. But there are some people I know, even within the Coyotes organization, who feel like the linesman could have stepped in and maybe shortened that, and the punishment wouldn't have been as bad for Troy Terry in that situation.
The thing that I have to say about this whole situation, I can't speak to all the details because I don't play hockey. I'm not in the NHL. The issue that I have with this whole thing is, and I know this is just naturally going to happen, but how people take this one incident, if they don't agree with what Beagle did, or they don't agree with what Tyson Nash said, and make it about the Arizona Coyotes as an organization. I saw so many comments, in their college arena. Like, I understand that it's an easy target and whatever, but can't we just have a discussion about a specific situation without making it about that? And I can't tell you how exhausting this is for a Coyotes fan. And it's just why do you have to make it about that? Be more original. Can we just have a conversation without making it about that? It's not. It was one incident. You can agree or disagree with how Beagle handled it. You can agree or disagree with what Tyson Nash said. You can agree or disagree with the direction the game of hockey is going, but don't make it about the organization as a whole, and don't make it about the fan base, and don't make it about the arena, because it's not. And that I'm so over that.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because it leads to my rant on this. First of all, I expect fans to do that. I expect fans to say stupid things because they're emotional and they're fans. You almost get a license as a fan. Like, to a certain point, you get a license to be an idiot in these situations. But you know who doesn't get a license to be an idiot in these situations? It's reporters who tie it to the arena or tie it to some greater, it's emblematic of the Coyotes. That's a moronic statement, and it's childish. Stay on task, okay? Let's talk about the topic. You learned this as a child. Stay on task. Don't make it about 10 other things. Whataboutism, all this other idiotic stuff. You're a reporter. You have a responsibility. So don't come with these garbage takes that aren't anything about the topic at hand. And while I'm talking about reporters, can you tell me why all those reporters felt free to weigh in on Tyson Nash without even reaching out to Tyson Nash to get his opinion? I reached out to him today. I obviously was not at the game, or I would have requested him right then and there. I would have requested Jay Beagle after the game. I can't believe he didn't talk after the game either. But if you're going to opine on something like this, you have an obligation as a reporter. It's literally the job to reach out and get further clarification, elaboration, whatever it is from Tyson Nash on what he meant, what he wants to say. You can ask a bunch of questions like I did. Scott Burnside, I know, reached out to him. A lot of respect for Scotty. Anyway, I work with him at The Athletic. He's the only reporter among all the reporters who weighed in on this topic who actually reached out to Tyson Nash. That's irresponsible journalism. The job is to ask questions and do the reporting, and a lot of people didn't do it, so they failed at their jobs.
Yep. Petey.
That's my rant.
I'm just, I mean, you're right. That's all and what Craig did today is he called Tyson Nash, and we got to hear Tyson Nash's voice. Here's the context of my comments. You can still not like what Tyson Nash said, even after Tyson. It's out there now. Like Craig's interview is out there. It's on our YouTube channel. It's out on our. You can get it as a podcast. It's out there. You can hear what Tyson Nash says, and you still don't have to like it, and that's fine. But now you know what he had to say. And I hate to say it, two sides of the story. And boy, it wasn't that way out in the Twitter universe today. It was pretty harsh. And again, don't have to like it. I'm not saying you have to like it. You don't have to like what Beagle did either.
Listen, Tyson knows I disagree with him on a ton of stuff. We've talked about a lot of things where we disagree, but you owe him the respect. And again, the responsibility, your literal job is to do that reporting. And so many people didn't do it.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for doing it, Craig. We really do appreciate it here at PHNX, the work you do for this Coyotes podcast. And that today, if you haven't heard Tyson Nash's interview, you need to. And before you have an opinion, make sure you listen to the questions that Craig asked him.
Absolutely. And if you haven't had the chance to listen to that yet, it's literally less than 8 minutes long, and you can just get it wherever you get your podcasts, PHNX Coyotes on Apple or Spotify or Google, wherever you listen to your podcasts, as well as there's some audio excerpts on Twitter as well. So check that out for sure. And, Craig just talked about reporting, and he's doing it every day. So please sign up to become a member at gophnx.com. There's a lot of big stuff coming up this week that Craig will be covering, so you won't want to miss out on it. So become a member today. Gophnx.com. Sign up for your membership. Get a shirt when you sign up. You can get a hat now in the PHNX locker. We have those. They're amazing. So check that out. And members also get weekly deals on merchandise, as well as access to our members-only Discord and a ton of other perks. So it's a great time to become a member. And now I want to talk about something that also has two different sides that I've seen a lot of one side, but then we saw another side, and that is the Iron Man streak for Keith Yandle coming to an end after the Philadelphia Flyers decided to healthy scratch him after playing, did it end up being 989 straight games played? The Flyers had, so the Flyers had 15 games left this season. They're out of a playoff position. Keith Yandle obviously is in the tail end of his career, but before we get into looking at both perspectives, I'm just curious what both of your initial reactions to this move were.
You want to go first on this one, Petey?
No, I'll let you go first.
A lot of hot air. Okay. I get what organizations' goals are late in the season. When you're out of the playoffs, that's the time when you want to get a look at a lot of your own young players, and that's what the Flyers were trying to do here. But in this case, it's getting a look at a young player alongside a different defensive partners. You're worried that Keith Yandle won't help this young player look as good or have as much success as he possibly can have. I guess that's okay. I do understand that perspective. I think it's also exaggerated with this few games left in the season that you're going to get, oh my God, so much better read of a young defenseman alongside another defensive partner versus Keith Yandle. And I also wonder if you're going to do this, you're really going to do this with 15 games left in the season. This team is out of the playoffs. If you really felt like Keith Yandle didn't belong in the lineup, you probably should have done this before. Maybe they wanted him to get to the record, but that happened a while ago too. You could have pulled the plug on Keith Yandle a long time ago. I know I've talked to reporters, like I talked to Charlie O'Connor with The Athletic, who said that Yandle's just not been very good this season. Okay, what's he doing in the lineup, for the past 30 games? I just don't understand the timing. And I know we put too much significance on big round numbers. I rail against this all the time. At the same time, the guy's 11 games from 1,000, and now you're going to pull the plug on him with 15 games left in the season. I don't know. I have mixed emotions on this, mixed feelings on this one.
Well, I've talked about this before. I've talked about this in the shore as it pertains to Phil Kessel specifically. And when they flew him back for the birth of his child, we all applauded that. And we all said, what a great job by the organization. But let's really look at it. Is that the true intent of an Iron Man? Or are we just checking the box? He jumped over the boards, he took a face off, he left. Great. It looks great. He's continuing his Iron Man, but one, did it help his team? Did he really play? No, you check the box and now you're going to chase Unger. And I know there are games, and I will say this as fact. There were games where physically you question if Phil Kessel could have played along this way. So I'm sure it's the same thing for Yandle, and yet you play him not for the benefit of the team. It's for the benefit of a record that it's an attendance record at kindergarten. You showed up every day. So what they did is absolutely, utterly amazing. To play one game in the National Hockey League, one, is a feat that most people can't even understand how difficult this league is to play in. To play once. These people have done it day after day after day after day. Hats off to them. Fantastic. They've earned it. Great. But at some point, you have to look at, are we putting him in the lineup because of the record? And that's the only reason he's still playing in the league?
Yeah.
It is a question. And could Philadelphia, does it change their season? Absolutely not. It doesn't. It doesn't matter if they play him or defenseman B or C or D. No, it doesn't matter. They're still out of the playoffs, and it's still where it is. But what do you say to that kid's parents, players D, who's going to get his first game in the National Hockey League at 18? What do you say to his parents? What about his career? What about his future? I mean, there are other sides to all stories.
Sure.
I think Keith Yandle, I would have loved to see him get to 1,000 games. I absolutely would have. And I had different feelings until I listened to former Coyote Mike Rupp. And I think this is coming from a player that's inside the room and sums it up better than I can. So it's nice to at least hear the other side of the coin instead of just jumping on the Flyers and calling them a trash organization.
Yep. So let's hear what Mike Rupp had to say on this.
Let's remove the player's name from the equation because I just want to talk about the circumstance because from my interactions with Keith Yandle and everybody I've ever talked to, loves this guy. Great teammate, great human being. But we got to stop finessing and manufacturing and fabricating things to get records. Like, how many times do we have to see this happen? I mean, honestly, Keith Yandle was supposed to get scratched when he was in Florida. And the whole internet blew up and was losing their minds about it and almost kind of like guilted this organization in Florida to keep it going. And then he got the record. And here we are in a situation. You can't tell me the best thing for the Flyers right now is if he is not playing well, he shouldn't be in the lineup, especially when they need to play 15 in these 15 games, the kids, right? And that's even, so if this thing, and it looks like it's coming to an end, looks like Phil Kessel's next in line. Phil's streak should have ended. They fabricated, manufactured, they flew him home, got a charter flight for him to fly, where was it, Chicago? Is that where the game was? He played one shift, flew home, kept the streak alive. Why are we doing this? These records weren't set that same way. Doug Jarvis, I don't think, did anything like that. Gary Unger, I don't think, did anything like that. We're discrediting the history of the game by doing these types of things. So all the people that are saying this is a trash move by a trash organization in Philly, I completely disagree. They're doing what's best for them. They've got to smoke out what some of their defensemen, some of their younger players can do at this time. It would be a joke if they did it the other way. So anyways, let me know what everybody thinks about this.
I have to say this one by Mike Rupp changed my mind too, because my initial thought was the same as what Craig had said. Like, there's only 15 games left. It doesn't matter. Let him hit 1,000. And I know, like, whatever, it's just a random number, but it is extremely significant. And if you were going to do it, why didn't you do it earlier, et cetera, et cetera. But listening to what he said, and the point that really stuck with me was, this isn't how that record was set years ago. It's like how, when those players like Doug Jarvis and like when they set that record, were they doing the things that Keith Yandle and Phil Kessel have done to get this record? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a nuanced argument, to be sure. There are arguments on both sides. I still wonder if we got to see this young kid develop in the best setting. Yes, you do, but I wonder if that's a little exaggerated. But I do. I think there are a lot of good arguments to this. It's just part of this is hard because, Petey, you and I both know Keith Yandle really well. We know what a great teammate he is. So it's hard to see him have it end like this. And listen, he handled it with grace. I'm sure a lot of people saw his news conference before the game. He handled it so well. And that's typical Yans. But I know that it stung. I know because I was texting with him. I know it stung.
Sure.
So it's tough to see it end that way. Just a side note, by the way, however you feel about the way these two things were handled when you compare the Kessel situation to the Yandle situation, again, there's this narrative out here that the Coyotes don't treat their players well. They flew Phil Kessel damn across the country to be there for the birth of his child after one shift. Phil Kessel wanted to play in that entire game, by the way. It was Andre Tourigny that talked him into playing one shift and then flying home because he told him that the birth of his child was way more important than that one game. So, yeah, the Coyotes don't treat their players well. Come on. I mean, there are instances in every organization where things probably don't go the way you'd like them to go for the players, but let's not, again, just throw a blanket over the entire organization and say, yeah, this is always the way it is.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to say on it, and on the last two topics, is take a breath and just go, no, and it just, there are two sides to things. And sometimes, hey, I'm as guilty as anybody on things. You should see me at the office. I get hot about stuff and I rant. I do. I've got a little attitude.
What?
I know. And sometimes I need to do it. I know. Exactly. Take a deep breath and look, because somebody's looking at it a different way than you are. So just take a good Lord, Leah. Round two. Blue leading red. There are two sides to things. And again, you don't have to agree or disagree, but try to see it from somebody else's lens. That's all. And I think these two topics absolutely hit the mark on that, because there was so much anger and vitriol over both of these topics. And again, it trickled down to the organization or coaches, or like Leah said before about the organizations. Just take a look from somebody else's point of view. Don't have to agree. Just try to look at it that way. And maybe that'll help put a little perspective on things like this, if and when they happen again. And they will. And it could be tomorrow. It could be next week. So just try to take a different look at it.
Listen and talk. What are you talking about?
I know.
Listen to other people and talk and have conversations and communicate. It's so much easier just to rip someone on Twitter.
It is actually pretty easy.
Would you know?
No, I actually don't.
Oh, man.
I'm trying to be positive.
That was very positive, and it was a good way to wrap up those two things.
The street racing team is on live. I was going to ask that. A 10-mile loop so that we hear the cars coming around again when they come back. Is that what this is?
Maybe that's how I set the pace of the show, is every time they go by, it's like another 10 minutes have passed. It's lapsed. Well, we've debated a lot.
Craig.
Well, there's a couple things. We'll get to the thing we forgot at the last thing, but sorry. I want to. Those have been kind of controversial topics. So let's talk about something that's really, really exciting and really happy. And Petey, I'm going to let you take this one away.
Well, I don't know if people have seen my Twitter today. Well, all 1,002 of you now. So
woohoo! Finally hit that benchmark. Hey,
I did.
1,000 is important.
But I've been talking about a positive story. I've been looking for positive stuff all week and something to grab onto. And we've had the opportunity to have Matt Schott on the show. And we had an opportunity to talk with him before he passed away at a very untimely time as a young man. But his goal was to get the teams that he worked so hard for, the Arizona Kachinas hockey teams, to be Tier 1 status. It was incredibly important to him. And he was told last year, no, you got to compete at Tier 2 and do really well, and then we'll look at it again. Shortly after he passed away, Matt Schott, the Arizona State Board granted 3 of those teams Tier 1 status for next season, for 22-23. But in the meantime, they traveled to the national tournament in Pennsylvania today, all 3 of those teams at the Tier 2 level, and they competed today in the semifinals tonight, and all 3 teams won. That score at the bottom, the 19U, is now a final 4-2 over the Junior Flyers, and the Arizona Kachinas at 14U, 16U, and 19U will all be playing for national championships tomorrow. And if you don't think that's a big deal, you're just wrong. That this is amazing what these girls have done, what the state of Arizona has done. We talked about Lindsay Fry and Matt Schott, and we had Brendan Shaw, who's a coach of the 16U team. What they have done for girls hockey in the state of Arizona is nothing short of amazing in the short amount of time that they have done it. This is a competitive team nationally now. It's a recognized program throughout the United States. That is absolutely fantastic. So proud. I will be tweeting the scores tomorrow. Games start early tomorrow morning. I will be tweeting scores as they come in. So if you don't have time to follow things on the internet, I will make sure I get updates. And I want to show one more thing. Here's the matchups for tomorrow. The 14U's play a team out of Massachusetts, the North Shore Vipers, tomorrow morning. The Kachinas play a team from Minnesota. Yes, so we got Massachusetts and Minnesota in the finals. And the 19U team will play the Steel City Selects out of Pennsylvania. So we're talking Pennsylvania, Minnesota, Massachusetts, and 3 teams from the state of Arizona. So congratulations. And you know what? Matt Schott's proud somewhere. I guarantee it. So way to go, Kachinas.
This feels like the hand of Matt Schott, doesn't it?
It really does. It really, really does.
What a cool.
And I wish I have some pictures. We'll get tomorrow. We didn't get to them today. It's just there was a lot going on this show. So I'll have some pictures in tomorrow's show. And there's some pretty happy hockey kids. And I hope we get a chance to share some of their stories here in the upcoming weeks.
Absolutely. It's a great story all around. And like someone just said in the comments, hockey belongs here. So it really does. And everyone who's played a part in this is, I mean, kudos to them and kudos to Matt Schott for what he's done for this organization. So well said, Petey. And Petey will tweet those. We'll continue to retweet from at PHNX_Coyotes. But if you want to give Petey a follow at SPetersHockey as well, he will be tweeting that all day tomorrow. Okay, lastly, we have to do the one thing that we forgot because so much was going on that we literally forgot to do this. So we just need to crown our DraftKings king of the game.
There was a game earlier. You might want to rewind.
Like 30 minutes ago. But for the sake of the show, we have to do it. So Shayne Gostisbehere, overtime winner, had an assist as well. 1 goal, 1 assist. Shayne Gostisbehere is tonight's DraftKings king of the game. We got it in under the wire. But
terrific all-around game for Shayne tonight. I thought he was good from start to finish in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And glad to see that he wasn't too hurt after.
Yeah, he said he took it in the throat, but he was okay. You know, he came back.
Oh, that'll knock the wind out of you, literally.
Yeah. Well, let's hope tomorrow, 24 hours from now, when we're doing this against the St. Louis Blues, there's a little less. We can talk more about the game tomorrow. Let's hope.
Yes.
Wait and see what happens next. But I have a feeling Craig is going to ruin that too. And we're going to bring more stuff that we're going to
somebody
discuss.
Just mentioned April 7th as being a key date. Yeah, but yes, I'll have a story on that tomorrow.
Yep. So stay tuned at gophnx.com for that. Caleb said 3,000 followers update. When do we get the dance? We did pass 3,000 followers. We'll all be in the office tomorrow, so we'll discuss that. I promise you it will happen.
Yeah, that one's not going to go away. Unfortunately, I tried, but the syrup thing seemed to get tabled.
No.
I think the syrup thing is the next punishment. Why are we calling these punishments?
I don't know.
Oh, maybe I like dancing.
Yeah. Maybe I'm just telling you I don't like fake maple syrup. So I'll
you're waiting to highlight my dance moves. Maybe it's just the opportunity I've been looking for.
Leah, because I do have the big bottle of Log Cabin.
No. Anyway, yes, but we will be back tomorrow, pretty much a day from now exactly, for the postgame show against St. Louis tomorrow. Craig will have a big story coming out tomorrow on the events of the upcoming week at gophnx.com. So be sure to check that out. Follow us on Twitter if you're not, at PHNX_Coyotes. Like, subscribe, follow, and leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. Again, the Tyson Nash interview is on there, and all of our postgame shows and all of our audio shows are there as well. So you don't want to miss that. We will be back tomorrow night. Be sure to subscribe to the PHNX Sports YouTube channel and follow PHNX Sports across all social platforms. There's a lot of fun stuff happening this week, and we will be back tomorrow night. Have a great rest of your night, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow.